Hello my dear friends, this is a PaintyKat. My name is Catherine and today we're going to paint with watercolor. You can slightly see sketch I have on my paper right now, right? But you always can follow link on a description and there you can find ready to print sketch. You can print it and transfer lines you need on a paper. After it, we need to fix list of paper on a table with a tape and we're ready to work. Today I'm going to paint on a high quality watercolor paper and we will use today our samples that we did when we opened watercolor box. So first color I'm starting with, it's color of the sky and I will pick up cobalt blue. About an idea of composition today, just imagine you're taking a walk around a park somewhere near to you and you have a trees above your head. So you're looking up, you want to see the sky, those beautiful color of the autumn sky, and also you can see there some twigs and branches and last autumn leaves. Near to me, it's a park where we have plenty of maple trees, so I choose maple leaves also because of shape. I think shape of maple leaves just adorable, very beautiful. So we will create this kind of composition. You can see I'm starting with wet on wet technique. I put nice amount of water on my paper. I waited a little bit. I waited till water from the top layer going to the middle layer on the paper. I already demonstrated to you. It's a high quality paper, so it's very thick. You need to wait a little bit, and after we're starting to create feeling of the sky. Watercolor nicely known about transparency, so don't try to create a really saturated and let's say thick layer of a watercolor, I mean cobalt blue. Try to put dot by dot. Watercolor brush able to keep nice amount of water inside water plus color. So take color from your watercolor box to your palette, then put their water, mix all together, take it from there with your watercolor brush, and after making some dots. And yes, you need to have a patience because watercolor need time to work, need time for spreading, right? Just, take your time, try to relax and watch how watercolor painting by itself. Also, I will use cadmium yellow medium and I will put this color on a top side on a left corner. I really recommend to you to see the final result at this moment to understand where I'm planning to create branches and twigs in the end. And just imagine you looking up, you can see tree above your head, so some leaves will be visible in details very close to your eyes, right? You can concentrate your view on some of leaves, but some of them are really out of focus, so it will be just a yellow color somewhere around. Try to imitate this color, so it's some blue where you can see the sky and some yellow. Imagine it's unfocused yellow leaves around. So I just put this kind of colors around. You can pick up cadmium yellow medium, but just be careful with the cadmium lemon. If you will take too much of lemon one, you'll get a lots of green spots, because lemon plus cadmium blue giving really clear green color. We don't need it yet, at least. Or maybe you like to create green tree. This way, yes, you can also mix lemon and cadmium blue. Also, you can see now I'm using technique knocking with my brush. I'm knocking on palette and spreading lots of yellow dots around. Also, I picked up a small amount of golden and also created some dots and spots around. It's just more warm yellow tone. Also, I removed extra water that was on my paper, and now it's another dot step, right, when we're creating dots, knocking on palette, and this time it's a blue dots. And yes, my friends, please be patient. You have to wait till all those colors will spread by itself. Dots can be so different. It can be cadmium yellow medium, can be golden, blue also. It can be even English red. At some moment, please stop and dry, or wait till it dries by itself. I'm using just a hairdryer to make it, faster. Please be sure your paper now, your background absolutely dry. Next color I decided to choose, it's English red, not much, and another one will be cadmium yellow medium. In general, we need to create a mix with not too bright yellow color that have a slightly amount of like a brick color in it. Just imagine it's not a fresh leaf, it's already yellow, it's a late autumn. And with this color we're starting to create first leaf on our composition. I really recommend for this step usual watercolor brush. It's thick enough, it's round, but have a very pointy tip. Maple leaves have lots of pointy ends, so this type of brush just absolutely perfect for this type of leaves. By the way, you can pick up any type of autumn leaves you like. It can be lime tree, it can be, I don't know, birch tree, different trees have different types of and shapes of leaves. Any of those, beautiful. When you're walking in a park, look around you, pick up some real leaves. Clean it after at your home, make it clear, make it dry, and hold it near to you, put it on a table in front of you, so when you will paint you can take some real details, maybe some spots, maybe some interesting shape or part of shape. And if you're including in your composition real details, after all your painting will look more natural. As you can see, first I used big brush and now I picked up smaller size. Shape the same, it's a watercolor brush. I'm taking small amount of English red and creating a dots. It's a wet area inside this leaf. Leaf still wet, right? So I'm putting dots, I'm just touching with a very pointy tip of the brush, so small amount of watercolor paint going on the wet paper. But as soon as inner area of the leaf still wet, I can create smooth gradients inside this area. So the main idea, after you created sky, let it dry, it's a layer number 1. Make sure your paper completely dried, not just a half dried, really completely. If you don't want to use hair dryer, you need to wait at least 40 minutes because it's a very thick watercolor paper. And after you creating next layer and details can have really sharp edges this way. No any accidentally happened, spots or areas where watercolors spread it out somewhere. Watercolors wanted, but not just you wanted, right? Don't let watercolor do whatever this painting like. Try to handle it. Try to create those edges that you need on your composition. It's possible only, again, if first layer dried completely. Next leaf, as you can see, colors just the same. English red, cadmium yellow medium, some small amount of lemon as well. And I'm just spreading colors inside wet areas. Just, wet area have maple leaf shape. That's it. Don't be in a hurry. Anytime, if you noticed that a leaf area already drying a little bit, you always can put the extra water and after put the extra color. Be careful on edges. Be sure edges have those lines that you really need. From the start of this tutorial, you probably noticed that sketch lines slightly visible. It's true, maybe on camera it is so, but for me, all lines was visible well enough. Watercolor transparent, so if I will create well visible, contrasted, dark lines of sketch, all lines will be also visible on a final result, right? It's also can be. It's not a mistake. I mean, if you're really looking for more graphical result, final result of your work, yes, you can create a really dark contrasted lines. You can use pen, black pen, for example, on the first step when you transferring sketch, and after you can color with watercolor. But it's just not a fact I'm looking for this composition exactly, because this view really need to be lightweight in my opinion, because it's autumn, it's a still sun, it's a very clear light blue sky and amber looking yellow. So that's why all lines so soft, so unnoticeable, I'd say. And just make your own opinion, what result closer to you. I mean, if you want to go for black lines, yes, you can. You also can use pen after watercolor done, and you can create some lines that you like, black or maybe brown. For example, we will also paint twigs and branches here. Can look good also with pen. You can see now I'm painting leaf by leaf. Sometimes I adding dots inside of wet area. It's still wet and wet. I just working in reserved area. I'm creating wet area, painting inside. Can add there any colors that I like, but all paper around it, around my new leaf, already dry. Interesting moments can happen when you're going close to previous area. For example, you can see leaf in the center, biggest one. It's still wet a little bit, so need to be very careful. You can use hair dryer, make it completely dry, or you have to wait a little bit. What I'm doing usually, I'm just painting other leaves. I'm waiting till big leaf drying, and after painting leaf that very near to this leaf in the center. You know what? Let's repeat some common mistake I will do for you, right? And I'll demonstrate you how I'm fixing it usually. For example, if you're going on the wrong area, let's create the wrong peak on a leaf, for example. This is the right one, but here, look, this is a wrong one. What to do? What I'm doing usually? I'm just lifting up wrong color with a clear and dry brush. I'm drying my brush with a napkin on my left hand, and I'm just lifting up wrong pigment on a wrong area. That's it. Later, when this area, wrong area, will dry, we can also, check how it's looking after all, and if need any details to create there, we can do it. But first fixing, it's just a lifting up the wrong color. When paper still wet, it's very easy, and you usually can remove completely all wrong color. Please watch also my previous tutorial about birds and flowers. There is 3 birds, and there I also demonstrated what to do if wrong color was placed for a long time on a paper. Issue is when color sitting on a paper for too long, like 10 minutes maybe, it's going very deep into middle layer of a paper, so it's harder to lift up. Then I'm using dry napkin. I'm placing extra clear water on an area and lifting pigment, lifting watercolor with a napkins. That's it. It's a kind of easy, really. Now you can see I'm creating effect when a previous leaf that we have on the bottom layer, half transparent through the top leaf. Top leaf light yellow. So I just created half visible shape of the bottom leaf with a darker color. Color was English red. Central leaf, dark leaf here, already dried, so I can complete also small maple leaf on the bottom. By the way, sometimes looking interesting when you creating little holes in maple leaves. If they are already, it's a last leaves on a tree, it's a really late autumn, leaves can have a small holes already, even if it's still on a tree, right? So just evade some areas, leave it dry, don't place there any water. And when you will put darker, more contrasted watercolor, those holes will be more and more visible. Interesting looking if they are blue color, of course, but also good looking if it's just white color or maybe very, very light blue color behind the leaf. Now those I created two of them, two holes. It's not really visible, right? I will put English red on the ends of the leaf, so now it will be, more visible for you. Yeah, like this. Let me contrast it a little bit more. Also, I'm planning on the next maple leaf. I will do another common mistake. Just let me complete colors here. Yeah, let's do it here. What we have? We have a second maple leaf, but leaf that's near to this one, not dried completely yet. It's happening lots of the time, especially on the beginners paintings. So let's do the same. Important to know, leaves under my hand now, still wet, but it's looking as a dry. I can even touch it with my fingers, and it's a feeling like, almost dried, but not really. I already can't take off watercolor from it with my fingers, but still I can feel a little amount of water in the middle layer. This feeling will come to you with experience for sure, when the top layer already dried, but middle layer of paper still have a water on it. Let's see what will happen. You're going closer and look what's going on. We can't create sharp line between those two leaves. Yes, watercolor not going, too wet, not going too far, right? Again, because it's not that much water on this area, but middle layer of a paper still wet. I can feel it with my hands. And look, watercolor going on the areas we don't like. Don't be panic, it's really can fix easily. Use dry brush. Clean your brush each time after each stroke with a dry napkin on your left hand and just lift up wrong color. Yes, of course you can't create, at the moment you can't create sharp line between two leaves, but you can fix as much as possible, and after this area will dry completely, you can wet one darker leaf again. The whole dark leaf you will need to wet again and just create a little bit more contrasted sharp edge between two leaves. By the way, some of mistakes became an adorable detail on your painting. And it's important to analyze your own work, to look at it from the distance and to understand what areas looking really good. Area can look not exactly as you want it, because watercolor have own mood sometimes, even own will. Watercolor can spread on those areas you're not planning at all, but sometimes if you can really feel it, you can feel your work you can understand those spots or shapes looking just beautiful, even if it's not the exactly result you wanted. And I can tell you, I really like how these two leaves, where I repeated mistake for you without sharp edge between two objects, I really like it now. So I'm not gonna create sharp edge between those two. I have sharp line between middle light leaf and a dark, and I have softer line between the same middle light leaf and a leaf on top. Before, I was working at a computer game company, and there was an interesting phrase: is it a bug or is it a feature? Means some mistakes can really turn into a feature. All you have to do is just understand what it really is. Also, sometimes some areas on watercolor so hard to fix. For example, if watercolor was there for a long time, like couple of days, and after you decided to make some difference, it will be very hard to lift up color from the paper. Also, it's about watercolor that have acrylic in base. We have water-based watercolor, usual normal ones, but nowadays I saw some paints at local stores that marked as a watercolor, but when you're trying it, it's really similar, absolutely, but after it's dried, you can't lift up color at all, no any small amount even. It's acrylic based watercolor, nothing wrong with it. You just need to know your own paints and how to deal with it. We almost done with the first layer of our leaves, and I wanna demonstrate to you also how to work on a second layers wet on wet. Let me complete this small part. And now, important moment, clean your brushes and clean your water. Next step, if you need to fix something or you wanna bring more color, contrasted color, it can be a different color or maybe better detailing, we working next layer and again wet on wet. Important thing, please wet the whole area you're going work with, but don't rub paper with your brush. Be very gentle when you're adding clear water on top. If you will rub paper with a brush a little bit, you're risking to leave up some of previous watercolor that already sitting here. Just, imagine you glazing with liquid something. You're just putting this water on top and spreading gently. And that's it. As soon as area wet, you can create details, maybe some veins. I put here more English red at the moment, and I can also add maybe a little bit of Mother Lake red. Yeah, I think it's looking good here. It's also can be a scarlet red. Important to wet exactly the whole area of the leaf, repeating the shape, but not just a part of it. When you will wet just a part of the leaf, for example, half, when second layer will dry, the border between second wet and wet layer and the first wet and wet layer can be visible. Not all the time, but sometimes it can be. So be careful with it. And I'd recommend to you, if you want to create second, third, or even more layers, just wet the whole leaf. And after working on those small areas where you need to. Here I have leaf seen through another one. But look, I'm keeping the edge of the light leaf. I'm keeping it still light. I will add also a little bit more yellow on another leaf, and I'm spreading, look, everywhere. I'm making all leaf wet again. I also wanna share with you next plans for future tutorial. Next one we will talk about different kinds of watercolor. Some of colors have white base. For example, it's all cadmiums. Lemon one, yellow medium, orange cadmium. They all have white as a base. We already created spots on a background, and I will do again on a wet leaf in the center now. But look, if you have some wrong ones, it can be easily removed with just a dry napkin around. We already have spotty background, so nothing wrong with it. On this step also you can create more sharp edges between some leaves that we repeated mistake, for example here. But again, I really like this soft edge between two leaves. I'm gonna keep it like this. And spreading color everywhere. On the next leaf I will use scarlet red. I put the color and spreading around with the water. I'm still working in an area of the leaf. Pointy tip of the brush, very helpful here in this process. Let's also put some dots with the scarlet red on a previous leaf. And also on this leaf, I think red will looking good here. By the way, color can be green, for example, if you wanna create different types of leaves. It can be more brown, it can be more orange. For example, you can use ochre red, you can use cadmium orange or golden, more than I do. In one composition you have to create so many variations. As I told you before, you can create different types of tree. For example, oak, leaves of oak, so beautiful, right? Also can look very, very interesting. Colors for oak, for example, I would like to use green and browns. Yeah, something like this. Don't spend too much time and too much attention on the leaves, because we still haven't here the most contrasted detail. It's branches and twigs. First, let me explain about two kinds of colors. mixes. First, I have in the center very useful area, split it on two parts. On a half, I'm using sepia plus English red plus small amount of cadmium yellow medium. Let me put here more sepia. And on another one, there is sepia plus cobalt blue. So at one mix you have sepia plus blue, and another one you have sepia plus English red. That's mean one sepia more warm-toned and another sepia more cold-toned, right? Because we put it their blue color. And I'm now taking one brush stroke from blue sepia, another one from red sepia, and I will put it one by one, stroke by stroke, two different kind of sepias mixing into a wet area, which is this branch, and somewhere you can notice more warm toned areas, somewhere more cold toned areas. Idea is it's giving a really pearl effect. If you will take a pearl, there you can see a different colors that going into each other, right? So the same possible to create on a branch. It's not just a brown color. It can have so many colors in those, let's say, brown, but it's of course not so. Also you can use a mix, create a mix of sepia and violet, and as well put it into an area of branch. In the end, it's looking more interesting. Yes, the main color here it's a sepia, true, but it's undertones that very visible in the end. Maybe now, when it's under the light and paper still wet, it's not so noticeable, but trust me, it will be in the end. And it's very depends on what amount of blue, red or violet you're using into a mix. Also, please remember about different sizes of brushes. For big brushes, of course, it's nice to use big brush, watercolor one, because watercolor shape have a pointy tip. You can create interesting looking edge of the branch. But also we have smaller brushes. I demonstrated so many times this brush I have in my hand now. I love it so much. Now I have plenty of this, all looking the same. I just got two another brushes, absolutely same shape, and smaller tweaks, gentle tweaks, better create with brush number 0. About this shape of the brush, if you didn't watch my previous tutorials, it's a one stroke type. It's have a very long bristle, but size small, it's number 1 or maybe 0. And when bristle long, it's possible to handle on it fair amount of water with a watercolor. So lines you can create very long, still gentle, still thin, but long. If you will take just a normal number 1 or 0, usually it's have a short bristle, right? So if you will try to work with a watercolor, those brushes can create only a short lines. It's nice for detailing still, but not that nice if you need to create long, thin lines. And one by one, we're just creating twigs, and I'm just following sketch I have on my paper. Remember, you can create your own. For example, if you took a couple of nice photo shots when you was walking around, right, with your family, for example, as I usually do. I have my mobile with me, and when I'm walking at park with my kids, I can take a couple of photo shots. It's not that nice quality, by the way, but some details possible to get from there. And if you don't have any reference photos, you can use my sketch. Also, sometimes when I really basing on real photos, I also placing it for you, publishing for you on my Patreon. There you can find all references photos I'm using on my tutorials. And I have my own library in internet. There is so many photos, right? Sometimes some pictures catching my attention and I'm saving for future. Even if I have no time right away to create something that based on interesting photos, I can save it for later. And if I have a couple of minutes, for example, before a lesson tutorial with my students, I can checking some photos on my library, on my PC computer, and I'm just picking some ideas, some shapes maybe. Very nice, you know. And if you're using photos of real nature, perfect if it's your own, but also from just a library also can be. It's giving to you those fresh, unique details that nature giving to us. Artists always trying to be, I'd say, too accurate. My teacher told me that I'm painting a fence instead of a tree. Means all my when I was a beginner, was student, just did first steps in art. Yeah, my trees was looking all the same, and plus had same distances between each other. So phrase of my teacher, please don't create for me a fence on your painting. This phrase was staying in my head for really long time, and still I can remember a voice that's repeating to me, don't create a fence, please do different sizes and distances between the objects. This is the main idea when we are working on natural shapes. They are all different, so we have to, you know, create twigs not too straight. It can be wavy, for example. Also, I like to paint bigger twigs and branches with a deeper tone, and small and gentle ones with a lighter tone. And you can see now the main branch, it's starting from the left edge of a paper as a really dark one, but it's going on top edge, and it's lighter and a lighter, right? So it have variation of tone. All twigs under, behind the main branch, darker. So you have to decide by your own what you wanna create. It can be really dark central branch, and twigs behind it can be lighter, but for sure you have to create the difference in a tone between objects that crossing each other. Some of them have to be lighter, some of them darker. For example, if you already created the central, the main branch too dark everywhere, try to create other twigs that crossing the main one create it lighter, right? Okay, next step and the next big part of the composition, it's stamps. It's stamps that connecting leaves and twigs. Color of stamps different. It's not that dark and brown as branches and twigs. It's have to be lighter. So mix there maybe English red plus cadmium yellow medium. It can be sepia also there into mix. And now we're creating lighter lines than before. Look what mix I'm creating at the moment, plus yellow medium, right? And usually if you will look at a real leaf, you will notice these veins looking lighter. If it's so, you really can create a lighter veins if you just painting a single leaf laying on a table. But in this composition, we're trying to look on the sky through the leaves. In this moment, veins looking darker, because veins more thick, leaf thinner, so leaf will be more transparent and lighter looking, and veins will look darker. There is an idea. Just, try to pick up the real leaf and try to look through it on a sky, and you will understand what idea I mean at the moment. So just we have to paint veins darker, but not too dark. Don't create the same tone as you did with twigs and branches. It has to be lighter. It can be even just a yellow, but pick up color more thick, more concentrated, and you can create veins. We have not just a central five veins. It's looking as a fan, right? Or maybe as a hand with the fingers. But also we have smaller veins that going from the central ones. Also remember, veins thicker in a spot where veins connected to the stem. So there, veins can be even more dark. I'm trying to explain what I'm doing and why for you, why I'm picking this color or those color, what idea I mean. In my view, comments can explain my thoughts for you better. Of course, ideal painting, it's a painting when you don't need any comments from the painter who created it. But the process, it's different, right? Sometimes nice to know what artist was thinking, why he or her picked up those color or this tone created on a composition. And if I'm talking too much, you will let me know, right, on the comments. Trust me, I'm trying my best, and when I was a student, it was very handy for me when some of my teachers, they explained a lot about techniques, about process, about why they making choices, this or those. Some of my teachers was more silent, I'd say. They prefer demonstrate to me the process, but not explained with words. Still, I don't know what is better for you. Just watch with the music, with the relaxation, right? As a part of relaxation, and following tutorial, or you need to know what I was thinking about and what moment or maybe what situations I wanted to create on my compositions. Now you can see those smaller veins that connecting to the main ones, and veins have to be lighter when it's almost touching the edge of the leaf. And I'm just removing extra color with a clear napkin when veins touching the edge of the leaf. This way, veins looking just lighter, right? For me, it's not easy to comment everything, especially because English not my native. You probably already noticed this moment, but I'm also studying in the process of my video. I'm learning new words. For example, some of them I'm just not using in a normal life. I mean, when I'm talking with the people, I don't need to know what's some technical terms about stems and all other parts of flowers, for example. We rarely talking about it, right, with the friends. So I'm still starting, learning better English. And just let me know if you missing any moments. You can always ask me on the comments here or on my Patreon. Also, you can write me a message through Facebook. And any moments you didn't understand from my tutorial, I can explain for you better. My composition almost done. For now, it's just some final touching. You can see that I have clear dry napkin on my left hand that helping me to control tone of my strokes. If I'm overtoning some details, I can touch it with the napkin and removing extra pigment. Just, in a moment when I'm placing it. And please don't forget to sign your painting. It's very important because we spent almost 1 hour for it. And just be proud of your work. I mean, we really started a lot. Lots of techniques, layering, it's wet and wet, it's creating dots, it's fixing mistakes, all in one tutorial. And as a final step, we have to remove a tape. I do it with a fan again. Very slow, only when tape warm. This way tape didn't throwing any piece of paper. That's it, and it's done. I hope you enjoyed process, and I really hope to see your own painting that you created with my tutorial. It was a PaintyKat. I wish you all the best. Bye bye.